Okay, so first off, what is interest? So interest is the cost of using money or the reward for lending or saving money. It's what you pay when you borrow or what you earn when you save or invest. So there's two sides to interest. The first is when you borrow money. It's the extra amount that you have to pay back to the lender on top of the original amount that you borrowed. So for example, if you borrow $1,000 at a 5% interest for 1 year, you pay back $1,050. And the extra $50 is just the 5% of 1,000. The second side is when you save or invest money and you put it into a bank. So interest is the extra income that you earn. So for example, if you deposit $1,000 at a 5% interest for 1 year, then you'll have 1,050 after that year. So you might be asking why interest exists. It serves as a compensation for permitting others to utilize your funds. It represents the time value of money, acknowledging that money available now holds greater value than the same amount of money in a different time in a later time. It also supports banks, businesses, and economies by promoting and lending saving activities. So, for example, for banks, if you borrow money, then if you just pay back the same amount, then the bank doesn't really make money. So you have to pay interest so the bank can make money. So that's like one of the ways banks can make money. So real life examples, the first is borrowing, so paying interest, like things on credit cards, car loans, student loans, or mortgages on houses. The second one is saving, so earning interest from savings accounts or bonds. The higher the interest rate, the more you pay. That's like pretty self-explanatory. So like the higher the percentage, then the greater amount of the original amount of money that you'll have to pay or that you earn. So student loans is a real life example of borrowing with interest. So we're probably, as students, we're probably all going to come um, encounter student loans. So student loans is basically a way you pay for higher education like college. So here you can see the loan types for federal student loans and direct. Direct just means you pay like the interest adds up every day. And then subsidized loans means that if you're in school and you make a loan, then the government will pay the interest for you while you're in school. And then after you get out of school, you have to pay it yourself. And then unsubsidized loans is you have to pay the interest while you're still in school, and the government doesn't pay any interest for you. So here's an example based on the current fixed interest rate of 6.39%. So George borrows $10,000 for college at 6.39% fixed interest, and he doesn't make any payments while in school. So to calculate daily interest, so daily interest is usually used when we're talking about federal student loans. And to calculate it, it's just the outstanding principal or the original amount that the person borrowed, so $10,000, and then times the interest rate, which is 6.39 in this case, and then divided by 365 to find out for 1 day. So using the formula, we get $1.75 per day of daily interest. So over a month, that's about $52 in interest. And over 4 years, if unpaid, so assuming that George doesn't pay anything over the 4 years, the interest adds up to 2,555. So in total, he now has to pay $12,000, $555 before he starts to pay it. Yeah. This would be an example of unsubsidized loans because the government doesn't pay any of the interest for George. So relating to student loans, College scholarships can also help you pay for college. So they don't involve interest and they don't require you to repay any money back. So it's basically just free money that the government or like other private organizations will give you. So they're financial aid that reduces your need to borrow. And to apply for scholarships, you need to complete the free application for Federal Student Aid or FAFSA to apply. And there's also other ways, other financial aids, other college scholarship financial aids that you can apply to, for example, the Pell Grant. And that will also give you free money. And then college scholarships, they're based on like your accomplishments, usually like arts or sports or other things like that. Okay, so here's an example of a real student. So we can see here that their budget or like how much they had to pay to get into Stanford was $93,000. And then their scholarship they got was $56,000. So that's a pretty big portion of the 93,000. That's like more than half that they got in like free money. So now the total they had to pay was only 37,000. So that just shows the like really big impact scholarships can have on your on you financially. So it's probably a good idea that you apply for scholarships. So here's another example of a student who went to Caltech. So their total payment to attend was $94,000, and in scholarships they got $89,000. So they're almost going to college for free at this point. Okay, so in summary, what is student loan interest? It's additional money that you pay to a lender as a cost of borrowing money. So interest is calculated as the percentage of the unpaid principal amount that you borrowed. So it's the percentage of the original amount that you borrowed. Direct loans are daily interest loans. So on daily interest loans, interest accrues or adds up every day. Subsidized loans, the government pays for the interest while you're in school, and then you don't have to pay anything while you're in school. Unsubsidized is you're responsible for all the interest while you're in school, so the government does not pay the interest. So credit cards, we'll probably all get credit cards at some point. So this is a topic that we should probably be aware of. So APR is the important part that we should be aware of. So it's the annual percentage rate or the annual interest rate customers must pay for unpaid proportions of their monthly credit card bills. So what that is like is saying if you don't pay your interest for, oh no, if you don't pay back the money that you borrowed from the credit card on time, then you have to pay the APR. So it's just extra money you have to pay to the credit card. So why this is important? So your purchase APR is the standard APR that applies when you make purchases. This purchase APR can be either fixed or variable. So fixed APR is locked in when you sign up for your credit card and does not change except under certain circumstances, such as making a late payment, which then triggers your penalty APR. These types of APRs are rare. The second one is variable APR, and that's more common. This APR can change over time and is usually based on a benchmark or prime rate. And then the prime rate when the prime rate decreases or increases, your credit card's APR will change as well. So, for example, your credit card interest could be the prime rate plus 3.5. So the prime rate is basically based on another rate called the federal funds rate. And so usually when that rate increases or decreases, the prime rate also increases or decreases. So your credit score, your APR is based on your credit score. So the credit score ranges below are based on FICO or Fair Isaac Corporation, a financial services company's credit score ranges. So excellent would be 741 to 850, and then bad would be lower than 580. So here's a chart that shows how your APR affects your credit score. So, or your credit score will affect your APR. So if you have an excellent credit score, then your APR will be around 20% to 28%. And then if you have a bad credit score, then that's about 26%. So it's generally higher, like a bit higher. But that could also correlate to a lot of money. So that's why it's important to have a good credit score. So the two main types of interest, the one I just talked about was simple interest, which is calculated only based on the original amount or the principal amount. And then there's compound interest, calculated on both the principal and also the interest already earned. So you add those together basically. And we usually call that interest on interest. So to sum it up, what is simple interest? Simple interest is a way to calculate how much money you earn or owe over time based on only the original amount. So the formula for calculating this is P times P, which is the principal, times R, the annual interest rate, times T, time in years. So for an example, you deposit $1,000 in a savings account at a 5% annual interest for 3 years. So 1,000 to calculate the simple interest, it's 1,000, the principal amount, times 0.05, which is 5% as a decimal, times 3 years. So that's $150 in interest after 3 years. So in total, that would be $1,150. So the key point, which this is the difference between simple and compound interest. So simple interest does not compound, meaning you only earn interest on your original deposit. And then simple interest is commonly used for short-term loans, car loans, and some savings account.